Good evening and welcome to the April 24th meeting of the Brighton Town Board. Pesach Sameach, happy Passover to everybody who celebrates. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. It's great to have you here. We will be beginning the open forum portion of our meeting shortly. Open forum is the portion of the meeting where members of the community have the opportunity to share their comments with the town board. We'll talk a little bit more about how the open forum works when we get there. You can participate in the open forum, or for that matter in the public hearing that we have on the agenda tonight, either here in person or remotely. But if you're watching us remotely, you'll have to log into the meeting on Zoom in order to speak to the open forum tonight or to speak during the public hearing. There are detailed instructions for how to log into Zoom on the town's website, but I think most of us have spent a little time on Zoom over the last few years. But in any event, www.townofbrighton is the town's website where those instructions are available. As we have for many years, we make our town board meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community with our regular ASL interpreters tonight, Allie and Heather. Thank you so much. And you know, we start every meeting, the guy at the podium, you know, checks to see if we're ready, but we never get to introduce Steve. So that's Steve Del Monte, our videographer, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Steve broadcasting. The agenda for tonight's meeting and the supporting material is on the back table if you're here in the room. If you're remote, all of that information is also available on the town webpage. I'm going to ask that we all rise if we're able and start with the pledge. I will ask Councilmember Corrado to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will invite Councilmember Salzman to join me at the podium. We have two proclamations this evening. The first, Yom HaShoah. Yom HaShoah, of course, is the International Holocaust Day of Remembrance, observed in memory of over 6 million Jews murdered during the Holocaust by Nazi Germany and its collaborators. This year, Yom HaShoah begins at sundown on May 5th. The observance of Yom HaShoah this year, and for that matter, the observance of Pesach, Passover, take on additional significance this year, following Hamas's brutal terrorist attack on Israel on October 7th. It's important to remember that over 1,200 Jews were killed by Hamas terrorists on October 7th, the most Jews killed in any single terror incident since the Holocaust. Hundreds of people were taken hostage, some were sexually assaulted. There can be no justification for such brutality. And because each of our voices are important, loud or not, large or small, I call on Hamas to account for and release all of those hostages now. As we know, if we do not remember and observe the Holocaust, we diminish its enormity. Therefore, the town of Brighton and our town board has issued this proclamation in observance of Yom HaShoah. Councilmember Salzman and I will read it. Whereas Yom HaShoah, or Holocaust Remembrance Day, commemorates the victims and survivors of the Holocaust, so that we will never forget the horror of the Holocaust and remain vigilant against hatred, persecution, and tyranny, especially as anti-Semitism increases in the United States and around the world, And
Whereas Yom HaShoah falls on the 27th day of the Hebrew month of Nisan and recognizes the Nazi regime systematically murdered 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. And
whereas millions of other innocents, including Roma, Slavs, Poles, persons with disabilities, LGBTQI plus individuals, political dissidents, and many others were also murdered during the Holocaust. And
whereas the history of the Holocaust offers an opportunity to reflect on the moral responsibilities of individuals, societies, and governments. And
whereas we must never forget the truth of what happened across Europe during the Holocaust, or forget the horrific crimes and suffering the Nazi regime inflicted on millions of innocent people, as entire families were wiped out and communities were shattered. And
whereas each of us must stand against human cruelty and human suffering, anti-Semitism, and all other forms of hatred, and we must recommit to educating successive generations about the Holocaust.
Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and members of our Town Council, do hereby recognize the observance of Yom HaShoah, or Holocaust Remembrance Day, from sundown on May 5th to sundown on May 6th in the town of Brighton. And this proclamation is signed by each of the members of the town board this 24th day of April, 2024. Thank you, Nate. Our second proclamation tonight recognizes Arbor Day, which is coming up on Friday, April 26th. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton of the Nebraska Board of Agriculture launched the first Arbor Day and added more than 1 million trees to the prairie landscape. Think of that, 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas this tradition has spread across the nation and the world, underscoring the importance of trees in our ecosystem and inspiring people to plant and care for them in the midst of a deforestation crisis. And whereas trees contribute significantly to reducing carbon levels and soil erosion, filtering water for cleaner streams and rivers, providing habitat for wildlife, producing oxygen, and providing a renewable resource for paper, fuel, and other wood products. And whereas the town of Brighton furthers the ideals of Arbor Day by supporting our Tree Council and our Conservation Board in the thoughtful management of our trees and emphasis on landscaping with native plants. And whereas this Arbor Day, community volunteers, Color Brighton Green, and Brighton High School's Lorax Club will pot small trees for future plantings to increase their likelihood of survival. And Parks Department staff will plant more mature trees in Buckland, Meridian, and Town Park, showing Brighton's deep commitment to environmentalism and our urban tree canopy. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of the Brighton Town Council do hereby recognize April 26th, 2024 as Arbor Day. We celebrate our 22nd year as a Tree City, USA, and we ask our residents to plant a tree this spring for a healthier and cleaner tomorrow. And this proclamation is also signed the 24th day of April, 2024 by myself and the members of the town board. We do have a robust tree planting program. The work that we're going to be doing on Arbor Day is part of that. We have been at Tree City USA for the past 22 years. That's recognized by the National Arbor Day Foundation. We continue to treat our ash trees located along town rights-of-way and along the Brickyard Trail. They've been, we and all of us in this part of the world have seen ash trees infested by the emerald ash borer. It's not cheap to inoculate those trees against the emerald ash borer, but it would be even more expensive to take them down when they die. And of course, at that point, you lose the tree canopy and the cooling effect of the trees. So we continue to be committed to the ideals of Tree City USA from the Arbor Day Foundation, and we're very pleased to be able to celebrate Arbor Day on Friday. We'll now begin our open forum, which we hold at the beginning of every town board meeting. The open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the town board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item on our agenda tonight. If you'd like to speak during the open forum when we call it open, and you're here in person, please raise your hand. When I call on you, please come up to the podium to speak. If you're participating in the meeting remotely and you wish to speak during the open forum, again, as I mentioned earlier, you must first join the meeting on Zoom. And again, there are detailed instructions for doing so on the town's webpage. You'll be admitted from the Zoom waiting room by the host. If you use the Zoom raised hand function, you'll be unmuted and you'll have the opportunity to speak. I do ask all speakers during the open forum, whether you're here in person or speaking remotely, to please state your name and address before speaking. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and I'll give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. We may not be able to answer the questions if you have questions that you ask, particularly if your question relates to a matter that's not on the agenda this evening. But our goal here tonight and during the open forum that we hold at every town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the town board and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully to your words. Therefore, please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind, including applause, boos, or similar disruption during the open forum, out of respect for the other speakers and for the time of everyone here tonight. Also out of respect for others in the room who may, who want to be able to see, we do not allow signs to be displayed during the open forum. People who don't follow these rules will be warned. Repeated failure to follow these rules or failure to follow other directions from the chair may result in your speaking privileges being ended early, being directed to leave the meeting, or the early termination of the open forum, although I don't expect we will have to do that. So with that, I declare the open forum to be open. I would note, by the way, we do have a public hearing also on the agenda tonight concerning the proposed Topgolf sports and entertainment facility. If you're here to speak concerning the Topgolf project at the at the public hearing, I would encourage you to hold your comments. That public hearing will be coming up almost immediately after the open forum concludes. But if you're here for the open forum, if you'd like to address the town board, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. Yes, sir, come on up. If you'd wait until you get up so the folks at home can hear you.
I was going to say, first and foremost, I've been there 3 times now, and I'm sure that the town board...
And if you would state your name and address,
sorry, Larry Underberg. It's pertaining to neighbors at 140 Meadow Drive. I'm at 150. And, it's been at least since February that I've been filing complaints on this neighbor issue, and I haven't been updated by anybody. So that's kind of what, my question is tonight, and I hear a lot of feedback from bits and pieces, but I believe that, you know, for some reason it's been in the town attorney's hands, and nobody's emailed me, sent me any letters, no phone calls, and with an ongoing problem that's actually been going on for 2 years with the neighbor and their disrespect, the dog problem, and now they're publishing frivolous letters on a town website, 12 Corners Southeast. I believe it's a something about next door app or whatever. And I mean, it's pretty, it's harassment, it's slander, and it needs to be addressed. And I most definitely am requesting order of protection from both of these people.
And you know, Mr. Underberg, you have been in here before, and I did see the posts you're referring to, including the photos that were included. And what I'm going to do is encourage our attorney to the town to speak with you out in the lobby. I think this is an individual matter, and I think since you've indicated an interest in speaking with the attorney to the town, I will give you that opportunity. But thank you for coming in tonight.
I think that's great. And will I get any kind of satisfaction from the attorney, or any kind of an update?
Mr. Mancuso will speak with you.
Okay, well then I would
privately.
like to just update the chief, because if there's false allegations being made.
Mr. Underberg, I'm going to ask Mr. Underberg.
This isn't, I'm saying not anything out of order. If false allegations are being made and his police are coming to my door
Mr.
and
Underberg,
following
Mr.
those-
Underberg,
You don't have to
Mr.
yell at me,
Underberg.
I'm not a child.
please sit down. And I will give you the opportunity to speak with the attorney to the town as you requested. Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board during the open forum?
I hope I don't have to come back again.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Leah Goldman. I live on Ashley Drive, and I've resided in Brighton for over 30 years. First, I want to say, as the granddaughter of 4 Holocaust survivors, thank you for your proclamation recognizing Yom HaShoah. It's very meaningful to the community. But I'm here tonight because my daughter attends 12 Corners Middle School, and on most days, she and her friends walk to 12 Corners after school. I'm so grateful to the town and the school district for the safety measures already in place to protect them. Well-kept sidewalks, crosswalks, stoplights, and the dedicated crossing guards who ensure our children's safety each and every day. Yet, even on a sunny spring day, 12 Corners can be chaotic at dismissal and drop-off times. Monroe Avenue is lined with cars, motorists race towards Elmwood to beat red lights, children cross the streets at each corner talking, laughing, or staring at their phones, and parents are rushing to drop their kids off so they can get to work on time or pick up their kids to hurry off to after-school activities. While we can't eliminate the hustle and bustle of these times of day, you can mitigate safety risks that are distracting at these times. Brighton has a history of valuing community safety. Sidewalks have been built in recent years on Elmwood for walkers, crosswalks have been improved, including new flashing lights on Westfall, bike lanes were added last year, and permits are required for certain gatherings like parades and charity runs to maintain order and safety. Adopting time, place, and manner restrictions on public gatherings at 12 Corners and prioritizing the safety of our children isn't that novel. My daughter texted me on the days that the threatening truck was parked in front of Bagel Land and the day that there were protesters targeting students during dismissal. I immediately raced out of meetings both times in a panic to pick her up. That is how many of us are conditioned these days. When the recent lockdowns occurred at 12 Corners schools, once again, I was triggered, frightened that something was happening to threaten the safety of our kids. In previous weeks, you heard from retired town supervisor Sandra Frankel, retired judge and former state senator Rick Dollinger, a psychologist specializing in trauma, a teacher from TCMS, and you received written correspondence from Rabbi Stein and Superintendent Kevin McGowan, in addition to verbal and written statements by concerned parents, grandparents, and neighbors urging you to protect our community. Please act immediately to prevent an avoidable incident from happening. You have the power to protect our community. We can't afford to wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum tonight? Yes.
Hi, I'm Debbie Goldberg. I live at 920 Highland Avenue. I've been a resident of Brighton for most of my life, but this is my first time doing this. I moved back to Brighton from Chicago in 2011 because I believed that this was the best place to raise our children, because as Brighton parents, we have a shared set of values, which includes education, kindness, mutual respect, and safety for all. I had intended tonight to talk generally about protests and gatherings and the need for some common sense parameters to be put into place to protect our students, but I'm having a hard time doing that because of my near 35 years of living in Brighton. I have never, ever seen or experienced protests like the ones that we have experienced in the past few years, and most notably within the past few months. Growing up in Brighton, the only war at 12 Corners that we were attuned to was the annual shaving cream war that took place on the last day of school. That's what was on our mind. But times are different now, and we find ourselves painfully evaluating the fine line between free speech and ensuring the safety of our children. As we all know, protests are emerging everywhere. You can't turn the news on without hearing about another protest, a march, a standoff, etc. While all citizens have the right to express themselves, recent events across the country have underscored the potential for such demonstrations to escalate to violence, which we've already experienced right here in Brighton. Protests today, by design, are meant to be chaotic, and they're meant to be disruptive. And this issue is not limited to the war in Gaza. We've seen this with virtually all political protests and issue-based protests since 2020. All of the data suggests that there's been a significant increase in peaceful and not peaceful protests. The challenge is that we don't know whether something is going to be peaceful or not peaceful until it's too late. There's so many issues polarizing us today. Safety and security should not be one of them. Protecting our children by creating some common sense parameters seems to me like a no-brainer. We don't need to look further than the universities to understand what happens when leadership fails to take a clear, hardline approach to protecting their students. Complacency from our leadership, or rather complacency from you, is simply not an option. Our children, our students, should not have to experience what the college students are experiencing right now. We have an opportunity, rather we have an obligation to protect them. At the last meeting, you were presented with a petition signed by over 1,500 Brighton residents asking for common sense parameters to be put into place for protests and gatherings and large
30
gatherings.
seconds, please.
I support this measure, and I encourage you to adopt this resolution. Finally, today I was stuck in traffic, and I was looking at the crossing guards, which crossed me when I would go to 12 Corners Middle School, and they crossed my children. And I was just thinking about the irony of having the crossing guards take children from one corner to another children, but potentially leading them to danger. It just seems silly that we would invest so much in crossing guards and have no metrics in place or no provisions in place to protect us, to protect them otherwise. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes.
Hey. Hi, my name is Chantal, and I've been a resident of Brighton most of my life too. And this is my first time speaking up here.
Welcome.
I went through the Brighton Central School District as a student when I was younger. As she just said, we the parents, it's a great school district, and we came back to put our children in this great school district. My husband also went to Brighton. I used to use the special education room in high school a lot, and there were teachers that talked to me, and I decided that I had patience, and when people had problems, I was able to help them. So I decided that I wanted to be a special ed teacher also. I went to Nazareth to get the training. I see this issue as the students do. I've asked students how they feel about what is going on. Many students, including my children, are scared, confused, stressed, and emotionally affected by the people who stand outside with signs. The kids see signs that say, "wounded child," and there are bloody parts and clothes hanging down. They see mother suckers, motherfuckers. They get spit on when they're walking. They get screamed at. They're scared. Like, as she said, with the policemen, that was great. When I was a child, it was much safer, and then that's how it should be. Dr. McGowan said, let the kids be kids, but they can't be as they're walking home, as they have these people screaming, shouting. There's physical violence where the police have had to come in, and they're scared, so I have to go pick up my kids more. The extremists tell the students that they are the ones causing the Israeli kids to be abused. They are flat out telling our students, friends, and children that they are cause of everything happening in Israel. My kids aren't the cause of it. Those are flat out lies. It would be much better if they had to be 500 feet away from the schools when this is happening, or at least just banned for a certain amount of time so that our children can walk home safely. Whatever side they're on, they shouldn't have to see this and go through this. The children are distracted from their work and home life because they are being treated in a horrible way. There's been a significant increase in behavioral health conditions among children. Do we really want to pile on by exposing them to alternative positions on geopolitical issues? I think not.
30 seconds.
And I encourage you to think the same. It cannot be good for them, and it can cause irreparable harm.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board this evening? Mr. Tetanoff? No? Okay. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rotema Das. I'm a mother of 4 here in Brighton School District. Thank you so much for letting us speak and have this open forum. We appreciate that time and the opportunity to talk what we're concerned about. I wanted to talk about the kids' safety, and I'm starting with the anti-Semitic increased and how it's increased in the USA since October 7th massacre. It's increased in 388%. It's not a Jewish problem or Israel problem or a Gaza problem. It's an all international problem, and it's an American problem. The silent could start a downhill situation. The silent is when you meet anti-Semitic and could normalize it. When you ignore a problem, you might increase the effect. If you're in silent, then you hide the barriers. When you hide the limits, it could get worse. When it gets worse with no limits, the terror is an easy tool to be used, also for children. Using excuses, freedom of speech, a First Amendment, or it depends on the context, are equally to silence. Those are the limits that people around us ignore, hiding the truth instead of facing it. Students shouldn't be afraid in any way, no matter if they're college students, middle school students, high school students. Pro-Hamas protester finds way to use terror and scare anyone who disagree with their idea, or even with some that agree, but just not protest at that time. We are here to make sure it's not going to happen. We are here to prevent, normalize, and any act that could scare the students. We will prevent in any way protests near school areas. We believe in freedom of speech. We want to make sure it's all happening away from our children. Keep their safety in school and outside school. Let the kids be kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tatanoff, would you like to speak?
So my name is Alexei. I've lived in Brighton for over a decade. I recently learned that there's some sort of animus against deaf people here in Brighton. There's a couple lawsuits, civil rights lawsuits filed against the town of Brighton for misbehavior by the cops. And again, this is your responsibility, Bill, to train and maintain discipline or good behavior by town employees. We should not be paying out of our pockets in extra taxes for the misbehavior of town employees. That is not our role, to be your piggy bank for their misbehavior. There are plenty of programs. There's, I think, a New York State telephone line that if a cop encounters a deaf person, they can get interpreting service on the spot to effectively communicate with a deaf person. There doesn't need to be this horrible, these last two horrible incidents that there are lawsuits over. It can easily be remedied. There is no legitimate reason for this abuse from town employees that we get to pay for because of qualified immunity. You guys never are held responsible unless it is so egregious that it's clearly established in case law. So that's just, and you guys try to cover it up. And like this guy that's got a problem with the dog, you don't like him, so therefore you don't guide him into the legal ways for him to deal with his problem. If he looked like your secretary, I think his response and his issue would have been resolved a long time ago. So better behavior is what we expect. We don't expect this horrible behavior by town employees. And if you guys don't want to do the job, that's fine. Resign, go work somewhere else. But when you're on the public dime, behave properly in accordance to the laws. And we're sick and tired of paying for misbehavior by town employees. The town gets sued over and over and over again.
30 seconds.
So shape up.
I'm not going to speak about pending litigation. You are wrong, though, in suggesting that town employees get sued over and over again. That is just patently a false statement. And I would also note that you have seen for years our ASL interpreters here in the room. You can walk into other town board meetings and you won't see that. We recognize how important it is as a diverse community to work with all members of our community, and I'm proud of the way we do that. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board this evening? Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to the board for issuing those two proclamations. Very much appreciated, and I will plant a tree. I promise to. Last time I spoke before the board, I gave an impassioned speech about school safety as a concerned and frankly furious TCMS parent. And this time, I hope to be far more constructive and practical. Since then, I have read dozens of boring 50-plus page federal and Supreme Court cases on time, place, and manner restrictions with respect to demonstrations and gatherings. And I have zero doubt, and as somebody who does practice constitutional law in federal courts throughout the state, I have zero doubt that what the board needs to do to protect our school children is 100% constitutional. Anyone who says otherwise, and I've heard a lot of comments of people saying otherwise generically, they either do not know the law, they haven't read the dozens of Supreme Court cases or other federal cases, or they're being willfully untruthful. There's nothing stopping the town from implementing a regulation that is content neutral and narrowly tailored to serve the significant governmental interest of public and student safety. And that's exactly how these boring cases read. Now, there's clear Supreme Court precedent that applies to demonstrations outside of schools, outside of funerals, and abortion clinics to guide us. In fact, there are lengthy, extremely lengthy, time, place, and manner restrictions in our very own Brighton Town Code. All right, they have one on, for example, one for signage and one for noise. And they include all manner of restriction on expressive speech and activity in order to ensure public safety. Right? And at this point, I understand that nearly every major Brighton stakeholder wants the board to act. The school superintendent, members of the school board, teachers, crossing guards, students, law enforcement, former judges, a former state senator, a former town supervisor, and multiple religious leaders. And they're all counting on you because they don't have the power to do this, but you do. And look, we really need to act now before it's too late. The Washington Post just reported earlier this month that volatile protest activities is expected to significantly increase by this summer. All right, and in case anyone has forgotten what was going on in 20 and 21, the Boston Globe reported that there were at least 139 vehicle ramming incidents at demonstrations over George Floyd's death. 3 people died. And look what's happening on college campuses right now. Lawlessness, physical violence, hateful and bigoted harassment and intimidation of students, glorification of terror, mass arrests, school lockdowns and shutdowns. Like it or not, the children of our community, they are targets. And that's just a fact that we have to deal with. Now, here's the practical part. A group of concerned citizens locally in Brighton, mostly attorneys, municipal officials, and business people with some skills relevant to municipal law, we've been working on what an appropriate law should look like. We're willing to meet with the board or the board's designee at any time to develop a solution that's reasonable, realistic, effective, and First Amendment compliant. We've done the work. We have the case law. So Mr. Mancuso here can save hours and hours of staring at LexisNexis. We have the template. We have ideas. We have alternative ideas. And I invite you to meet with us, and I hope you take us up on that offer. And finally, at the last meeting, Mr. Maley, and also I'd like a belated happy anniversary to you and your wife. At the last meeting, you said that you would speak to several people in the community, including Dr. McGowan and Rabbi Stein, and then you would tell us what the roadmap looks like to taking action in order to protect our children. And I respectfully request, when it's appropriate, that you update us on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate the offer. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the board this evening? Please. I was hoping you were going to.
Well, I'm a little conflicted because I was going to speak on what I have to say, but a friend's son sent me an email and asked me to read that, so I'm not quite sure which one to go with.
And if you would just share your name with us, please.
Sure. Is it okay if I do the email first for the student and then come back up later for my own?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. My name's Nelia, and I'm a parent in Brighton, but here is an email from a student. I come before you today as a student at Brighton High School. I would like to share my point of view as well as those of many students on the matter of the protests that have recently taken place in 12 Corners. Before I get to that, let me take you through a typical day. I wake up before 6 a.m. and I leave the house by 7 a.m. Once I get to school, I have to head up to class. In total, I have 8 periods with the occasional free period. I might have to take a test, work on a project, do a lab experiment, or see a teacher for something during my free periods. Otherwise, I do my homework, If I don't have any homework or I feel like going out, I'll head to 12 Corners during my free. 7 hours later, school is over and I walk home. Normally, my walks home are relaxing, a time for me to talk with my friends and get some exercise, but not recently. As I was walking home one day, I discovered pro-Palestinian protesters shouting at 12 Corners. As much as I didn't want to go towards them, I couldn't get home any other way. As I tried to make my way through unseen, I was harassed and intimidated, as were my friends and others, including middle schoolers. We were shouted at, given the middle finger, and called MFers. The next day, I found out that others had been told that they were causing a genocide in the Gaza Strip, that while they're sitting in health class or science class, they are actively murdering innocent children living in the Gaza Strip. In addition, some of my friends who had just gotten their driver's licenses and were driving their cars home also had things thrown at them and were shouted at, distracting them from driving. This created a very dangerous situation for everyone around, whether they were involved in the situation or not, and it was simply because of some protesters. I understand that this is America and the First Amendment gives everyone the freedom of speech, including the right to protest. But nothing anywhere in any legislation gives the right for anyone to cause violence to get their point across. One protests peacefully, but the use of violence in those protests is uncalled for and harmful to those who happen to be in the area. The actions that occurred those few days are classified as harassment and intimidation, and in some specific cases, hate crimes. We as students reserve the right to learn in peace. This includes being transported to and from that wonderful place of learning safely. At Brighton Central School District, Section 15A of the Code of Conduct states that no person shall use the language that is inappropriate for the school community, and no person shall intimidate, harass, bully, or discriminate against any person based on actual or perceived race, age, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practice, disability, sexual orientation, gender, or any other categories of individuals protected against discrimination by federal, state, or local law.
You have 30 seconds, maybe if you would like, because I do want to as well hear what you said, and I want to make sure the board gets the whole communication. Maybe you can forward it to the town clerk, and he will make sure it gets circulated to all of us.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. I am aware that the area in which the protesters were occupying was not on school.
I was going to suggest that you also address the other issue that you came for.
Okay.
If you can forward the email, he'll share it with all of us. But I also want to give you time to address the board on the other issue.
Sure. Is it okay if I finish the 30 seconds first for the student's email?
Okay.
Thank you. Give me a second. I lost where I was. I apologize. I am aware that the area in which the protesters were occupying were not school property. However, I and other students were commuting from school property and are innocent. We have not done anything wrong besides learning about the conflict. If we have expressed our opinion on the conflict, it has been done peacefully and no intent way to harm. On behalf of myself and the student body of Brighton High School and 12 Corners Middle School, as well as the staff working in the district, I demand that these violent protests come to an end. I understand that people still have the right to protest, however, it should not be done while students are on their way to school or in session, or students are on their way home. In addition, no protest should ever occur during a school day event, which may include but is not limited to sporting events, concerts, festivals, and such. Brighton schools believe that everyone has the right to attend school in an environment that is safe, welcoming, caring, professional, and free from harassment and intimidation. This includes the commute to and from school and all school events that may occur outside of typical school hours. On behalf of myself and all, I'm almost done, just 2 seconds. On behalf of myself and all the students, please stop harassing us and do not protest within 30 minutes before school, during school, 30 minutes after school, or during other school events, no matter the time or place that they occur. Thank you. Could I actually let someone else go first, and I'll come back?
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Michael Rosen, and I'm a 6th grader at 12 Corners Middle School. And recently there's been protests at 12 Corners, and they've been distracting me when I've been trying to learn, and they've been distracting other students and worrying them. A few weeks ago, there was an Israeli teacher that came to our school, and me and many other students went to have lunch with her, and we were talking about everything that's happening here and happening in Israel. And one of the students was saying that every day, well, the day when there were protests, when he walks home, he gets yelled at and many mean things. People yell many mean things at him. And I don't think this is okay, and I think this needs to be stopped, because school is for learning, and this is not helping us learn. It's making it more difficult to learn during school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Yes.
Hi, good evening. I'm Leora Rosen. I'm Michael's mom. He chose to speak on his own.
And he did a great job.
I'm very proud of him. And I also want to thank you for the proclamation regarding Yom HaShoah. It's really meaningful. As the daughter of 4 Holocaust survivors, it really strikes deep and means a lot. And, you know, I just wanted to follow up. Some of this, that first Tuesday that there were gatherings, he told me what the signs said from just within the school building. He was able to read the signs from within the school. Like, that's not okay. And, you know, there were comments made after previous meetings about, oh, you know, parents in Brighton just need to stop sheltering their children. They need to be given an education holistically on what's going on. This has nothing to do with sheltering our children. This has to do with their well-being, their safety, their mental health, their ability to go to school and to learn without carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. My children's formative years were in New York City public schools. They walked the streets of the city, they rode the buses, the subways, they saw everything. We have no interest in sheltering them. They saw the best of humanity, they saw the worst of humanity, and we talk about it with them. For people to choose to come target children in Brighton and Brighton only is not okay. We need to focus on their safety and their well-being, and thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Again, my name is Nelia. I'm from Brighton. 12 Corners, as you know, is quite the unique location, extremely busy. Commercial area with 12 corners, 3 traffic lights, 3 active schools adjacent with cars, trucks, and pedestrians all day long. I personally have seen several car crashes at 12 Corners at the beginning and the end of the school day. It is gridlock. It is very common. Some of the drivers are high school students who are inexperienced drivers who are merely 16 to 19 years old. A crowd of people with signs on the triangle is distracting for drivers. Not to say that people gathering shouldn't be allowed to, but it's still dangerous when all these factors come together. This is why we, the town, need to make it clear that this is not to stifle free speech, but it's to put reasonable time and place restrictions near a school for safety. The large protests scheduled from 2 to 4 on 3 weekdays outside of TCMS, there was violence. There were arrests, and a man's skull was actually fractured. And those 3 men who were arrested were not even from our town. Who are we bringing here? Who are we inviting to the town? I am a member of RAID, Rochester Against Impaired Driving. These distractions will have incredibly devastating effects on all who drive, walk, bike, and run on these roads. As a parent, I'm incredibly concerned about what might come next. Weapons such as guns or even vehicles rammed into students or something. Vehicles are a weapon. They're 3 tons worth. I am worried that not only is distracted driving will cause unnecessary harm, but I'm also concerned that we may end up as the newest tragedy in line with school tragedies such as Sandy Hook or Columbine, where we will never get our children back. I implore you to use your power to ensure child safety now by preventing anyone from conducting any large gatherings on or near school during the school day recess and school activities for the following reasons. Large gatherings near schools are unsafe. It's unpredictable who will show up and with what and when. Passionate protests near schools can result in fights, riots, and shootings. Children in school today experience significant academic and school challenges and stress at home. There's been a significant increase in behavioral health conditions among children. Do we really want to pile on more by exposing them to alternative positions on geopolitical issues?
30 seconds.
I don't really think so. I encourage you to think the same. It cannot be good for them, and it cannot be, and we don't want to cause irreparable harm. Just down the street at Wegmans, there's a shooting today in the parking lot. Maybe you heard of it, maybe you didn't. But what are we doing? Who are we bringing here? And what extra stress are we causing here in our town unnecessarily? Please, on behalf of RAID, Rochester Against Impaired Driving, please help keep our roads and sidewalks and public places safe for all who drive, walk, bike, and run on these roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in the room that wishes to speak tonight? Mr. Wilt?
Good evening. Nicholas Wilt, 2695 East Avenue. I'm here tonight to thank the town for producing the documents responsive to my public records request for body-worn camera footage from the Brighton Police Department at the 3 pro-Palestinian protests held at 12 Corners Park in February. These videos serve as an objective record as to what exactly happened at the protests, and I would encourage any of you who are curious about what actually happened to go review footage. It's time-stamped. The clocks appear to be nicely aligned with one another, and we've heard repeatedly in town board meetings and again tonight that the protests were violent. What the body-worn camera footage shows is that the violence was instigated by an Israeli man who drove from Shortsville specifically to oppose the pro-Palestinian protest. He stopped his truck on Winton Road, right in the middle of the 12 Corners during a busy traffic time, dismounted the vehicle, and tackled a protester. Amidst the body-worn camera footage, there's video evidence of this counter-protester admitting to throwing eggs at protesters out of his pickup truck. Police officers admonishing him for doing so. Police officers giving contemporaneous accounts of how the counter-protester was throwing eggs, and also how he instigated the violence after stopping and exiting his truck, and his own supporters and allies agreeing that he had been throwing eggs at protesters. I don't see why this footage hasn't been forwarded to the district attorney's office for further investigation. He should be charged with assault and prosecuted for bringing violence to our town. Because one thing that we all, I think, can agree on is that violence and the threat of violence makes our community less safe.
Thank you. Yes.
Hello, Seth Weinstein, Brighton homeowner, 3 children in the schools. I would like to thank the gentleman for mentioning the body camera footage because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter who caused what. What matters is that we are choosing to allow large gatherings near our schools And in the past 20 years, as we've seen mass shootings across this country increase in significance, there tend to be two factors. One, large gatherings. Two, schools. So it really doesn't make a difference who was at fault. The courts will make those determinations. What matters is we do not need to combine large gatherings and schools for any reason. And that's why we're requesting the buffer zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here? Well, sir, you've had a chance to speak. I will give you one more minute, but we do have a gentleman on Zoom who has had his hand up. Jason, if you would unmute Mr. Gluck and give him the opportunity to speak.
Good evening. Isaiah 62:11, for Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. 4 weeks ago, while addressing this Brighton Town Board, Supervisor Melee, on 2 separate occasions, you obnoxiously interrupted me and attempted to bully me into speaking in a manner that you alone deemed acceptable. My comments were relevant and well within the parameters of my free speech. My goal was to simply ask why Board Member Wilt was the only board member to not sign onto a public statement issued from your office as an official response to an anti-Semitic letter and vile cartoon, quoting that statement, and I quote, anti-Semitic and misogynistic statements and images like those found in this statement must be condemned. Yet, only one board member abstained, Robin Wilt. My comments included facts, quotes, and dates pertaining to Councilmember Wilt's anti-Israel and anti-Semitic history, and they caused no public safety issues. Supervisor Melee, you just didn't want to hear them, and that's why you attempted to shut me down. Perhaps why the anti-Israel demonstrators have targeted 12 corners is they fully know that they have the full support of Councilmember Wilt. Mrs. Wilt has publicly endorsed and personally participated in hate speech against Israel, and she alone did not endorse that public statement. And I am simply...
Mr. Gluck, I've given you an awful lot of leash today. As you heard, Mr. Gluck.
Hey, Bill.
Mr. Gluck.
Hey, Bill.
Mr. Gluck. As I was saying, I have given you a lot of leash today. In the opening comments, you were directed, as all speakers were directed, not to make personal attacks. I've given you a lot of opportunity to do that. If you have anything further to say that does not amount to a personal attack, I will give you the rest of your 40 seconds to complete. Go ahead.
I'd like to regain the time that you just stole from me. In the case, and I'm going to quote some case law, in the case of Barron versus Colinda concerning a Southborough, Massachusetts town board policy that comments be respectful, courteous, and free of personal remarks, the Supreme Court of Massachusetts ruled and emphasized that civility restraints on the content of speech
30 seconds, Mr. Gluck.
Session in a public meeting are forbidden. In addition, the Massachusetts Supreme Court stated the board has no authority to engage in what it called viewpoint discrimination. A 2021 court case, the Pennsbury, Pennsylvania School Board was restricting comments during public meetings, and the Eastern District of Pennsylvania ordered that the immediate prohibition from enforcing a variety of restrictions.
Time, Mr. Gluck. I would invite you to submit the remainder of your remarks to Mr. Amon if you so choose. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, I'll give you an extra.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Now, I just wanted to very briefly, I think it's absolutely critically important what the gentleman just spoke about in terms of the body cam footage. And it's an opportunity for us to understand what's at stake here. And I don't have personal knowledge of what happened. I'm sure there are police reports. I haven't viewed the body cam. I did see video of somebody getting kicked in the head and fracturing his head, but this person was obviously triggered by protesters targeting children during dismissal in a harassing and bigoted manner. And this time it was apparently eggs. Next time, is it going to be a car ramming? What's it going to be? It could be something far worse. And that's exactly why we need these reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. And it's not about Israel. It's not about Gaza. It really isn't. It could just as easily be BLM, KKK, Trump, Biden, Nazis, LGBTQ, Pokemon versus, whatever the opposite of Pokemon is. It could be anything. And we really need to not only protect the students from the people planning these things, but also from the people who may be triggered by these things into engaging in violence that could, and our kids could get caught in the crossfire. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board this evening? I want to thank everybody that came in tonight.
Excuse me, Mr. Supervisor, we have another guest in the Zoom room.
I don't see anybody with their hand raised. So unless there is someone on Zoom with their hand raised that would like to address the board, I will just give just a few brief remarks, and then we will move on with the agenda. Again, I do thank those of you that were here tonight and those of you that have come to previous meetings. I've heard from a lot of people. I've heard a lot of different things. Just tonight, we heard from a number of different perspectives, what those time, place, and manner hours might be, what the range of them might be, what the causes might be. I saw different things in a petition. Those are all valid perspectives. But this is a very serious topic. As a couple of you have noted, there are significant First Amendment issues involved in any guidelines relating to speech. I will continue to work with our police chief, who is the chief of the best law enforcement agency in not just Monroe County, but in the state of New York, and has worked very hard to keep children and institutions of all kinds in Brighton safe. I will continue to work with our attorney to the town, John Mancuso, and I encourage him to listen, as I do, to other attorneys who bring constitutional law perspective to this. I'm going to again encourage, just as Dr. McGowan did, just as Rabbi Stein did, and just as I've heard others, and I particularly appreciate hearing student perspective. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. But for us adults, I want to encourage us all to continue to model the kind of behavior that we aspire for our children to observe, to maintain the bonds that have brought this community together as a diverse and welcoming community. And let me just say, we will not in any way tolerate the targeting of children verbally or physically, or for that matter, other members of the community. And obviously, it's important if that occurs to you or to your child, I want to encourage you to make sure the police department is aware of it. The police department was aware and was present at the two, actually at all three. Two of them took place on weekdays. But we will not tolerate targeting of school children, and we will continue to listen to your words, to identify how best we can continue in these times that are changing, to make sure that the safety of all of us in Brighton and the community feeling that we all share here in Brighton are maintained. Okay. I'm going to go on. Sorry, let me screen back up here. Thank you for being here. You're welcome to stay. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Bill, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. We do have one public hearing tonight. It's the continuation and what I actually expect will be the conclusion of the public hearing on the proposed Topgolf Sports and Entertainment facility near the corner of East Henrietta Road and Westfall Road. Christine, I'll turn to you again. Can I have a motion to remove the Topgolf hearing from the table and reopen that public hearing?
I move that we remove the Topgolf hearing from the table and reopen the public hearing.
Can I have a second? Thank you, Chris. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. That motion having been made, I declare this public hearing on the proposed Topgolf Sports and Entertainment facility to again be open. I will note that we have been receiving information about this project over time, including as recently as our last meeting. You have a very large link to material that is on the town's webpage, too large to attach separately, but I will direct at the end of this public hearing tonight that that material all be included in the record of this public hearing. And it is all available online. Most of it has been previously received into the public hearing, but I want to make sure that it is in fact included. Tonight, I anticipate that we will make a determination of significance and complete the seeker review, and that's the State Environmental Quality Review Act review for this application. While I do hope and expect that we will take action one way or another on the seeker, I do not plan to ask the town board to take action on the substance of the project tonight, but instead I will give you one more meeting cycle, give us one more meeting cycle to consider all the material we've received so that we can take up the substance on May 8th. I do want to, as we have done occasionally on projects in the past, that in no way is intended to prejudice the ability of the applicant, if they so choose, to make submissions to any of our other boards that may be involved in this matter, like the planning board, to meet their deadline, to meet their submission deadline, understanding that your ability to appear before those boards would be conditioned upon the town board taking action on the substance of this incentive zoning and rezoning part of the proposal. Again, as I said earlier, people are welcome to comment here in the room or on remote if you're watching us remotely, but to do so remotely, you will need to log in to the Zoom meeting. And of course, again, instructions for doing so are available on the town's webpage, www.townofbrighton.org. So with the public hearing open, I will ask if there is anyone here that would like to address the board on this public hearing concerning the proposed Topgolf incentive zoning and rezoning application for a sports and entertainment facility near the East Henrietta Road and Westfall Road intersection in the town of Brighton. Would the developers team like to make any statements for the record or introduce any additional information?
Good evening, Betsy Brugg from Woods Oviatt. Gilman, it's a pleasure to be here. I don't have a whole lot to add. As you said, I believe I did print the packet that was online, and it was about 1.5 inches thick, so I'm not going to go through it. I just want to, really thank the town board and the town staff for working with us. We've been working on this project. Our submission came in August. I think we started working on it even a couple months before that. There's been a tremendous amount of work done. We've tried to submit, all the various information reports, information that's been requested. We're really excited to have this opportunity to bring Topgolf, not just to Brighton, but to our entire region. This is a unique location that they have selected. I understand that they've just reached the 100-store mark. They've chosen this market, and they're really excited to come here. The only other location is downstate in Long Island, I think. The closest locations are in Cleveland and Pittsburgh, so we're really excited about the ability to bring them to Brighton, the economic impact. It's just going to be, I think, a great asset to our community. We look forward to continuing to work with the town board through the approval process, and we appreciate your taking the next step with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're here to answer any questions, of course.
Great, thank you. John, is there anything you want to say at this point? We do have a proposed resolution to issue what's called a negative declaration, or a neg-dec, under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. But I'll ask if there's anything you would like to say pertaining to that.
Thank you, Supervisor. I will briefly add that the proposed resolution, as you indicated, is for a proposed adoption of a negative declaration, which is a determination by this board as lead agency that the project will not have one or more potentially significant adverse environmental impacts. And so what that means is that the secret process will be concluded, which would then allow the project to proceed through the substantive approval process. The proposed negative declaration was prepared by Rick DiStefano, the town's environmental liaison officer, in connection with this project, in consultation with the attorney to the town. So we worked collaboratively on preparing that document based on the evidence that was provided to the town throughout the public hearing process by the applicant, involved agencies, and anybody else that had submitted any information to the board. So that is the resolution that is before the board this evening. Happy to answer any specific questions if the board has any.
Thanks, John. And because it is a very large stack, whether you're looking at it, in paper or on your screen, that resolution and the proposed negative declaration itself is towards the very top of that large pile of material. I do want to, just for the record, again state that all of that material, whether or not it has been previously submitted to the record of this public hearing, that it be deemed to be included as part of the record of this public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the town board on this public hearing? I hear none. I also see no one on the Zoom. Council or applicant team, is there anything more you want to say before we close the public hearing and open it up for resolution and any debate?
I believe we've been in communication with the town and made sure that you have all of the most current information, and that our record is as complete as we can provide. Tried to provide all the information that you have requested in order to put you in a position to be able to move forward with this secret determination. So I don't think we have anything to add unless you need additional information from us. Thank you.
Thank you. John, anything more you want to?
Nothing further, Supervisor. Thank you.
Then I declare this public hearing on the proposed incentive zoning and rezoning application for the proposed Topgolf Sports and Entertainment facility located near the intersection of East Henrietta Road and Westfall Road in the town of Brighton to be closed. Can I have a motion to issue the negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act as prepared by the attorney to the town that you have in your packet? And that'll open it up for any discussion.
I move that we issue a negative declaration regarding the secret findings per the resolution before us.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I do have some questions. So, again, when we take action on this proposed action, according to Mr. DeStefano, will have a moderate impact with respect to consistency of the town comprehensive development regulations, because we are rezoning from residential to commercial. Have we, and I know there's some quotes from our comprehensive plan, but have we examined whether this is in line with our comprehensive plan with regard to this site? And how many residential parcels do we have remaining that are in this character? Are we foreclosing any opportunity to develop in this manner by rezoning this commercial? That's my biggest concern here.
I'll address that, and John, if I leave anything out, please feel free. When the previous owner of this property first announced that a project called Citygate was going to be built, there was a rendering that showed very dense, traditional garden-type apartments on the site. I don't remember exactly what year that was. Unfortunately, it was a long time ago, and that developer has since passed. But we have not, since that time, we did not ever receive any proposal from that developer or derivatively from anyone else seeking to develop that land as part of the Citygate project. Correct me if I'm wrong, the current zoning of that land is residential B?
Yes.
Residential B, which would be single family.
Yep. RLB residential low density.
RLB residential low density. So that is our lowest density. Well, it's our second lowest. But it's a low density residential, traditional housing, single family housing oriented type of zoning. Very different than what was shown even at the time on that rendering. Since that time, we have not received any inquiries that I'm aware of concerning the residential development of that parcel. Obviously, the town doesn't develop land. People who are in that business do. The parcel, the development, obviously some of the commercial land was built, the parcel was sold, and for the first time, we have now received a proposal for that approximately 12 acres of land that is the only part of the Citygate parcel that's located in the town of Brighton. So that's sort of the history with respect to that part of the land. But let me talk about, are we foreclosing ourselves of other opportunities? And I think the answer is no. Honestly, that parcel, which is squeezed tightly between the rear wall of a very large big box store and a medical office building, probably today, if we were to convene a comprehensive plan committee again, I would not be surprised if that committee today, with those two developments on either side of it, might reach the conclusion that something other than residential B is an appropriate use. But we do have other parcels of land in the town of Brighton that we have heard from developers about in particular affordable housing that I hope will come to fruition. One that's not too far away from this location, and one that is some greater distance away, but still within the central part of Brighton. So there are certainly other opportunities for housing, including very specifically affordable housing, that I hope we will see moving forward and giving the community additional housing opportunities. As you know, we also heard in committee another possible residential development project on land located near the Deerfield Woods community off of Clinton Avenue. So that is one project that may well be close to moving forward in the process. So I guess that's how I would best answer. I understand your concern. Are we foreclosing residential development in the town of Brighton with this project? No. I think what we may be doing is based on the experience in other communities. We may be creating one more reason that people find the Rochester community and the Brighton community an attractive place, whether to live or to visit, which will, of course, tend to improve our economic standing. And tax base. I'll make it clear, although we're not talking about the substance of this application tonight, we have made it clear to the developer that the developer will pay full town taxes as part of any incentive zoning approval. We have no control over school or county taxes, but they will pay full town taxes. John, anything I missed?
No, Supervisor. If I could add just a little bit on the procedural background as to how Mr. DeStefano arrived at the analysis in that section of the negative declaration. You are correct, Ms. Wilt, that a moderate impact was identified. So that's a Part 2 analysis of the seeker form. So what that form does is analyze impacts from either no, small, moderate, or large. And so looking at the seeker workbook, which is a guidance document that the DEC promulgates, also in consultation with the attorney to the town, because we discussed this particular area as we were working through the document. Typically, the guidance will tell you that because a rezoning needs to occur, along with certain incentives that the town is going to be granting for this project, those are the types of things that create a moderate type of impact, because effectively there are zoning changes that need to be made to facilitate the development. The next step then is to analyze the magnitude of that impact and determine whether a moderate impact becomes a significant adverse impact, because under New York law, the identification of a moderate impact does not necessarily drive that second conclusion. The way you look at that is whether you've identified the relevant areas of concern, taken a hard look at the impact, and engaged in an analysis to explain why the lead agency doesn't believe that's significant. So that was Mr. DeStefano's analysis as to why, looking at a couple pieces of this, the zoning aspects dealing with the comprehensive development regulations, which talk about the consistency with things like height and things like the use and things of that nature, and then the the comprehensive plans, which is a second component of that. And that's why, as you saw and pointed out, you have analysis of sections of Envision Brighton 2028, Comprehensive Plan 2000, and a discussion as to whether this parcel is identified specifically, which it is not. So you're looking at sort of the general parameters of the town's plans and sort of the goals and objectives that the plan speaks to, and whether this proposal before you is consistent with that. And so that was the analysis that Mr. DeStefano had engaged in, and which is laid out here in summary based on a more obviously robust record that is before the board.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a motion to issue a negative declaration for the proposed Topgolf Sports and Entertainment Facility under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Any further comments before we take that vote? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll on that motion.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mallon?
Aye. Again, thank you for being here tonight, and we will revisit the proposed rezoning and proposed incentive zoning considerations at our next meeting.
Thank you. We look forward to being back.
Thank you. Committee reports. Community Services, Robin.
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee met last Wednesday, April 17th. Among the items we discussed were, in matters of continuing business, park issues. The park staff is very busy preparing fields at Meridian and Buckland for spring athletic programs beginning March 9th, but has been somewhat hindered by consistently rainy weather. There has been some community demand to begin using the fields in early spring, but that demand does not necessarily reconcile with the reality of soggy field conditions throughout the early spring season. So staff is on target to have the over 20 fields under its maintenance supervision lined in advance of the spring sports season opening on May 9th. Contract mowing services will start this week to accommodate remediation of the current wet conditions on the fields. This time of year, parks maintenance crews are met with the challenge of balancing field use demands of the school district with the reality of staffing limitations and weather complications, but we hope that circumstances will ameliorate as the weather is more consistently fair. Understandably, some park maintenance days were lost due to preparation and execution of the total solar eclipse celebration, which was a monumental undertaking, of course, but park staff is still catching up after the event, or was catching up at the time of this meeting. So we are doing everything in our power, with the limiting circumstances of the weather to get those fields in shape. And I hear we are well on our way. And there was a discussion of invasive species management, in particular Japanese knotweed on the Brickyard Trail, and also the discussion of the potential for another volunteer effort to tackle some of these invasive species in the parks, or perhaps enlisting the aid of Future Scout, a capstone project, or something along those lines. We talked about naloxone delivery kits that will be installed in the park within the next week. The county will take care of monitoring and refilling those kits, so we are happy for that addition.
And they've been installed here in the building.
Yes, and they've already been
installed. One is right outside the door here where the AED is.
Yeah, so we're excited for that health and safety enhancement. In update to our recreation programs, we had a follow-up debrief on the eclipse. We discussed traffic, pedestrians, and the event as a whole. And we did receive overwhelmingly positive feedback from the community regarding the event. The Recreation Department has implemented an Eclipse Glasses collection program that lasted through April 19th at the Brookside Recreation Center and at Town Hall. Collection within the Monroe County Library System will continue through May 2nd, and glasses will be sent to Latin America for their upcoming eclipse events. So we had a very successful Hoops for Heroes basketball event with the Brighton Police Department. We thank the police department for their engagement and making the night really fun. Chief, do you have anything to add?
No, they were trying to make me get on a team. I shot a few hoops. It was fun. We had a great time.
Thank you. Planning for our summer concert series is underway. Summer program in Brighton resident summer camp registration is also underway and going well. The new Brookside after-school program is open, and families are appreciative for this expansion of flexible, affordable, and high-quality childcare opportunities within the community.
And I just real briefly want to step in to thank our stenographer tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, not at all, not at all. So we did have a discussion of a recent visit by some of our staff members to the First Baptist Church as a possible senior lunch partner location. So, and then of course we have Memorial Day planning that is ongoing for that commemoration. An update to our Winter's Farmers Market. The winter market season is officially over, and the market has returned to outdoors, opening with its traditional vine cutting ceremonies on Sunday. And Bill and Chris, I know you were both there on that very cold day.
It snowed.
I think the vine was the brightest thing we had.
It was a beautiful vine with forsythia flowers and radishes.
88 automatic door openers at the Winter Farmers Market entrance and restrooms. We anticipated that installation by last Friday. There was discussion of addressing the condition of the concrete flooring in the barn, and also a discussion of plans for the summer market opening and the development and expansion of the Buckland Barn parking opportunities over at the market. An update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. We had a female firefighter day at station number 1 at East Avenue. May is AAPI Heritage Month, and we're looking at the evening of Thursday, May 16th, for a possible celebration event. An invitation has been extended to State Senator Jeremy Cooney and Brighton Town Justice Vic Wilku, and we're happy to say that they will be in attendance. An AAPI event will follow the model of our Black History Month celebrations, and we're very excited. In addition to that, we discussed Juneteenth being commemorated at the Brighton Farmers Market on Sunday, June 16th. Plans are also being developed with Ms. Sue Gardner-Smith and the Idea Board, and those are coming together. And on Friday, June 14th, will be the flag raising and recognizing of Juneteenth holiday at Brighton Town Hall. On July 20th, will be the Rock Pride Parade Day. We're looking to get greater participation even from the town of Brighton departments, but we had our first
official town
yes,
parade group.
Official
a lot of
town,
us have marched for years.
Right, exactly.
But
Official town participation in the event last year, and we're hoping to just expand on that. Our Pride Flags raising date is still to be determined, but the potential date discussed was Friday, July 12th. An update to our clean energy community priority actions and sustainability activities. The supervisor's office did submit a letter opposing budget cuts to the NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities program, which we have successfully participated in for over a decade in this town. There was a discussion of the overall lack of state funding that already exists at the local level to implement sustainable projects, and the potential impacts of this cut on the state's overall ability to meet the goals stipulated in the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. In addition to that, we discussed that grant proposals have gone out to secure Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, EECBG, and Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Funding, CPRG. initiatives made possible through the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Continued funding opportunities are available under the Inflation Reduction Act, and the town will be actively seeking to pursue those grants and help ensure our climate resiliency. There was a discussion of development of a sustainability fund using money saved by implementing green initiatives to fund additional sustainability projects internally and in conjunction with the available public funding, whether it be NYSERDA or the Inflation Reduction Act. We also briefly discussed the tree inventory proposal, and we talked about who would lead in RFP and funding source and timeline, of course, which all are important considerations. We did have an update to our pollinator pathway challenge. Christine, did you want to update us? Or?
Sure. Very briefly, the Pollinator Pathway Challenge is a county-wide initiative that's being taken up by the towns. Our neighbors in Pittsford, Pittsford is the only one I can say with certainty, has initiated their challenge. They started that last year. It's a very simple challenge. You take a look at the guidelines for the appropriate plantings, native plantings in your yard. You check to see that you have them, that you're nurturing them, that you're sustaining them, and you attest to that. Turn in your checklist to the town, and you get a sign in return that says that you are part of the Pollinator Pathway. So the website is under development. It should be up shortly since the growing and yard maintenance season is coinciding with the initiation of the challenge in Brighton. So stay tuned, watch the website, and perhaps by our next meeting, we'll be able to point people directly to it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. We had an update to our Town of Brighton annual clean sweep and recycling events. Monetary donations are going well and continue to come in. I hope to thank all of our sponsors once we get everybody locked in, and we're hoping to finalize the donation of lunch sponsorship. Other in-kind donations also continue to be received, and we're coordinating details with the school district for their continued participation, which has been very strong over the past couple of years. And the event should be back to full scale this year, and all the planning is going well. Under items of new business, we did have our Arbor Day discussion that will be taking place off-site, and will also include some tree planting at our parks. Also there was a discussion of replacing dead trees currently in cages with new trees at Buckland Park and planting at Buckland Meridian in Town Park. Anything to add to that, Christine?
Only that you might say that our Arbor Day activities are branching out. I'm waiting all night to say that.
I thought there was going to be a football reference there, you know? Like.
Season has changed. It's time now for nature references.
Right.
I think it's a hole-in-one myself. But.
Oh, goodness.
There you go.
And at the risk of dad jokes continuing, I'll go on to list our upcoming events, which of course include our Arbor Day celebration, which it will occur at the First Baptist Church, 175 Allen Creek Road on Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The Brighton community is invited to this annual Arbor Day tree planting event. All ages are welcome. Children must be accompanied by an adult. Also this Saturday, we will have yoga and live music at the barn. At our Winter Farmers Market at 1341 Westfall Road. You can join instructor Lynn Boucher of Yoga Revolution for yoga and live music provided by Mike Boucher and Carrie Crowley. That will occur from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. The program is $20 per person and space is limited. Registration and details are online at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. This Saturday is very busy because we also have our Drug Enforcement Agency Pharmaceutical Take-Back event, which will occur at the Town of Brighton Public Safety Wing parking lot, 2300 Elmwood Avenue, this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, a reminder that our Brighton Clean Sweep will be at Brighton Town Hall, 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Saturday, May 18th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Our Memorial Day celebration will be at Buckland Park Veterans Memorial, 1341 Westfall Road on Monday, May 27th. It's usually at 2 p.m. I don't know if we've nailed
I'm not
down.
sure we finalized
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
that probably is correct.
Right, definitely at Buckland. And then our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event will take place at the Brighton Highway Department parking lot, 1941 Elmwood Avenue on Saturday, June 1st from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, May 15th at 9:30 a.m. or immediately following our Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting at the Brookside Recreation Center. Please do enter through the Winton Road entrance, and members of the community are invited and encouraged to attend.
Thank you. Finance, speaking of following, Finance Committee.
Yeah, I was gonna make a joke about if the chief could play power forward, the Sixers really need you guys tomorrow, but I feel like we did enough sports references. Got it in anyway. So the Finance Committee last met on April 17th at 8:30 a.m. right here. Earl, our finance director, led a very interesting discussion regarding how to best use the money that we have in our account to earn income for the town. And so that was great, and I want to thank him and his staff for bringing that to our attention. Very interesting conversation. Just one example of the work that your team does for the betterment of our town. So I wanted to highlight that. And Bill, I think the other issues are on today's agenda. So that's all I have.
All right.
I'm sorry, Bill. Our next meeting is May 1st at 8:30 a.m. right here.
Great, thank you. Public Safety.
Thanks, Bill. I reported on our April Public Safety Committee meeting at our last town board meeting. One thing I wanted to emphasize, although Robin did steal a bit of my thunder, but nonetheless, I just wanted to give a little background on those Narcan cabinets, the naloxone kits that are now available to the community. Started with an inquiry from a town employee, Gidget Williams, in the finance department, which was then directed to me by Dan Amon, then engaged the police chief. But this all started March 15th. And in less than 2 months, we now have those cabinets at both Buckland Parks, Meridian Center, and Town Hall and the Public Safety Wing as well. And it was, the inquiry was very enthusiastically received by the county that has a countywide program. And when I noted that we had so few locations in Brighton, the fellow that was most active in that area, very active in that committee, says, yeah, and I live in Brighton. He said, do you think we could get some locations? And he couldn't be happier to come in to our very next Public Safety Committee meeting with his boss as well, and with the, again, enthusiastic reception by our town staff, both in the police department and our parks department and town hall here. We've got those boxes up and they're available to the public. So thank you, Gidget, for starting the ball rolling.
Yeah, very pleased to see those.
Next meeting, May 14th, 8 o'clock a.m. here in Town Hall Auditorium.
Chris, and I just want to lob, that's a tennis reference, by the way, some more, praise your way. You reached out today about continuing one of the great projects you've been involved with, painting our traffic signal boxes. And the public safety, well, those are traffic signal boxes.
Well, there you go.
But I loved the idea of adopting a cycling theme as we go along Elmwood Avenue that reflects the new bike lanes that are put in. And the other location you identified where there's a serious graffiti problem that can be addressed. So keep it up. Thanks to the art students at Brighton High School and to my near namesake, although she spells it differently, Mrs. Maley at the high school.
Oh, man, yeah, I was going to say, I thought your Mrs. Maley used your, well,
M-A-L-E-Y, right?
M-A-L-E-Y, yes. Katie Maley.
Katie Maley. So thanks for keeping that up, and thank you to Katie and the students.
Oh, we're thrilled.
Christine, Public Works.
Public Works has not met since the last town board meeting. Our next meeting will be on May 14th at 9 a.m. or following the Public Safety Committee if it runs long.
Thank you. New business, reading and approval of claims. Nate.
Yes. Earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $845,797.23. One of the things that caught my eye was a payment to Shine, the Eclipse Band, and I think it's because of their great performance that we all saw the eclipse perfectly. There was no cloud cover at all. No, but on a serious note, they were great, and not only did they come equipped with a band, but there was also the gentleman who was dancing in front. And
Merriweather.
I'm telling you,
Rock Social Butterfly.
Yeah, Samantha and I were smiling the entire time. We thought the band was excellent, and we heard great feedback from our residents. So Shine did a great job. Our town staff did a great job. It was a wonderful event. The largest payment was made to Joe Johnson Equipment for a 2024 Elgin sweeper for the highway department. And I threw that one in there because you know how much I love those big sweeper machines. So the claims all appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second?
So is that the sweeper that also incorporates the suction? Yeah, great.
Is that also the Pelican, or is that a different manufacturer?
It's a different manufacturer.
But that will, that suction does help us keep our storm drains clean. I know that's one of the things, we have the MS4 audit coming up. We've been a leader in stormwater management, and that piece of equipment adds a capability that we haven't had. So it's great to see that. I know we have, Nate, you made the motion, and I think I heard Robin second it. That's the only comment I had. Any other comments? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Christine, the next item, please.
Yes, the next matter seeks to declare one 2002 Sterling dump truck, a 1992 Mack Packer truck, a 2005 Ford Cargo van, and a 2017 Ford Police Interceptor as surplus to be disposed of by Roy Teetsworth. I ask this every time. Teetsworth via municipal auction or online auction. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And thank you for providing all the information on the asset data sheets that are attached relating to those vehicles. All of them are quite old, with the exception of the police interceptor, but nothing gets more miles on it quickly than those police vehicles, which are used basically 24/7.
And Jim, you only got 30 years out of that Packer? I mean,
I cannot explain that.
Only 6 months of which were Jim's doing.
Yeah, right. I'm only good for 90 days.
We can blame Tom Lowe, Tim Keith, Mike Guyon, and Everett Garcia for the other 29 and a half years. Christine, you made the motion. Do we have a second?
Chris.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye, and I'll have you do the next one too, Christine.
Sure. The next matter seeks to award the 2024 Cured in Place Pipe Project to Scanix Pipe Services in an amount not to exceed $229,000 for a term of 1 year, with the option to renew for 3 additional one-year terms. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
We had a good discussion about this matter at the Finance Committee, and as requested, we've got quite a bit more information about how the bid was tabulated and the information about the various services that are potentially being provided by each of the vendors. The $229,000 not to exceed amount is the amount budgeted under the town's 2024 budget, but I will say that based on the amounts from last year, the Scanix bid would lead to a cost significantly less than that $229,000 number. But we're cognizant of the importance of maintaining our infrastructure. This is one of the important areas, and we've heard about our underground systems. We don't want to neglect them, even though they're not visible, out of sight, out of mind. When there's a problem, there's a problem. So we have got the full value for the year under our budget, but our expectation, unless there's a need for a significantly larger amount of work this season, that we will likely come in under that number. Any other information, any other questions? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Robin, the next matter.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to set a public hearing for May 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. for the removal of a 48-inch silver maple at 94 Hampshire Drive, a 39-inch silver maple at 36 Hollywood Avenue, a 50-inch silver maple at 241 Mayflower Drive, a 50-inch silver maple at 53 Model Lane, a 34-inch silver maple at 24 Terrytown Road, a 38-inch silver maple at 30 Terrytown Road, a 36-inch Norway maple at 83 Terrytown Road. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And again, this is to set a public hearing to consider each of those trees. You have the tree evaluation forms as well as photographs for the various trees. We will consider them after the public hearing. Any further comments? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Chris.
Bill, the next item is to authorize the supervisor to amend the part-time, permanent, and seasonal employee wage schedule to increase the starting wage for seasonal laborers in the highway and sewer departments to $18 per hour. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This came about actually too late to come into the Finance Committee, but it's a function of discussions that our Commissioner of Public Works, Jim Sprague, our HR Director, Tricia Van Putty, and I had relating to, frankly, what kind of numbers we would need this year in order to attract the very important summer seasonal employees that we have in the department. I think, Jim, you had indicated we were in a position to fund as many as 8 of those seasonals, but it's really important that we have at least 6. And in looking around at other communities, this will put us in a competitive position to hire good people for those jobs.
Correct.
Any questions, comments on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor. It is time for the first quarter.
May I interrupt briefly?
Sure.
I noted there was a letter from Brendan Ryan regarding a grant application and a resolution in the packet.
Was I looking
that
at the-
intended to be included and omitted from the agenda, or was it included incorrectly? I know it's only 474 pages to go through before a meeting, so let's see, it is.
Hang on just a second.
It is page,
Resolution number 5.
yeah,
Is number 5 cut off of the amended agenda?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's
Authorizing an application to NYSERDA.
The NYSERDA grant.
I don't, I mean, the authorization to apply for a grant is something we do, even though it's not technically required by, it's different than accepting a grant because that commits us to, take certain action. There's no requirement, although it has always been our policy to act on grant applications, frankly, just so the community knows about them, and so in part so that we can manage workload for our staff. I do not know exactly what the timeline is. John, if this is, as it appears not to be, on the agenda, can we legally amend the agenda to consider it tonight?
Yes, Supervisor.
All right. Then I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add this item and to take action on the resolution that you have in your packet before.
I move that we amend the agenda to include the item regarding a grant application to NYSERDA and to take action on it.
Second.
And that's under the Clean Energy Community Grant Program. Any discussion on this? Obviously, Brennan has worked very hard, and we continue to build up our clean energy community grants. We heard earlier about the letter of opposition that was written to make sure that clean energy community grant funds were not cut. This is an example of how we're using our clean energy community grant funds. If there's nothing further, can I ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion to add this item to the agenda and approve the grant application?
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you, Christine.
Page 461.
In case you were looking.
And here I was still looking at arborist tree reports. Okay, matters of the supervisor now.
We did not take action
I think
on
the
that.
motion on the floor, it was to amend the agenda to add the item.
Oh, I tried to.
You just combine, was there also to approve? Okay, just want to make sure that's specific in the record.
Authorize the
Perfect.
application and to amend the.
Perfect, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, then, matters of the supervisor. You have a quarterly report, and I want to give a shout out, since we're giving shout outs tonight. Earl put together a more formal quarterly supervisor's report. I think this is useful to see the numbers here, and although it's early in the year, it's always hard to get a good read on where the year is going to go in the first quarter, because some of our significant revenue sources don't come in until the second quarter, our mortgage and sales tax, but it's great to have this more detailed report. And Earl, I'll turn it over to you to summarize.
Thank you. So at the end of the 470-some pages are 6 small slides. One is just a cover slide, and we are just looking at the results through March of 2024, as we always do quarterly. And the first slide there after the cover page is basically showing you the adopted budget from last year as a reminder of where we were heading into the year. And with $31 million in appropriations, we were going to cover that with over $11 million in estimated revenues, which is 36%, and the amount to be raised in taxes, which was 56%, and the remaining 7.5% is to be covered by the appropriated fund balance, which of course we hope not to need to use each year by either exceeding our revenue estimates or not spending all of our appropriations for the year. As last year was a successful year, we'll be talking more about that next month, where we did not use fund balance. It is a good year to compare our progress as we go throughout this year. So on the next slide, we briefly talk about the most important factor we face right now, and you'll see on that third slide the New York State Comptroller's inflation factors that they produce each year and use to determine allowable levy growth factors for all municipalities. And it's kind of a chart that nobody paid attention to for about 10 years or longer, as inflation rates were so low. In 2020, you can see it was 1.9%. 2021, it was 1.3%, right around the target of 2% that we like to see. In 2022, we started to see that rise, and it was 3.63%. According to New York State for the year, and then in 23 it was 7.74%. So obviously we worked very hard last year to control expenses and to make sure we ended up strong financially despite all of the inflation. In 2024 it is coming down, but it is still 4.67%, and I'm sure you all read the news where it's kind of getting stuck and is not really progressing a lot lower than that, as with respect to the types of things that we see and we spend money on. So we expect inflation to be a topic for quite a while, and also to be a challenge for putting together the 2025 budget, which will be starting shortly. In that fourth slide, you can see the revenue and expense comparisons from this year to last year at this time. There's only a few things to note. One is that our sales tax and mortgage tax are big numbers for us, and they can vary from year to year. We do not have any of that data yet. Our sales tax figures do not come in until May, so we will be seeing them about a month from now. And the other thing to note is that on the revenue side, with interest rates remaining high, our earned interest income has been higher than budgeted and certainly remains strong, and we try to maximize that as much as we can. On the expense side, our wages are under 25%, and that can be explained because we're early in the year, and also because we only had 6 pay periods through the first quarter. And then our benefits are higher than you would expect at this time because we usually prepay a lot of our benefits. So there's really nothing out of the ordinary so far as we analyze these numbers. The only unusual thing to mention is principal and interest payments are very low this year compared to last year, and that is because we had a large bond drop-off in last year that does not need to be paid this year.
That's the Parks bond that matured in 2023.
So the summary for the first quarter is really all about inflation, because as we put together the budget and try to control expenses through this year, we see higher costs for most goods and services, especially capital equipment and large projects. They tend to be heavily influenced by inflation. If we borrow money, and we just did borrow money for two large highway pieces of equipment, and the cost of borrowing is more expensive than it has been in the past. And then, of course, we have continued pressure on wages and benefits. So at the end of the first quarter, the conclusions of what we see are that our trends are consistent with last year, which was a successful fiscal year for the town. And so there are no warning signs at this point, and we'll continue to work with departments to make sure we are where we need to be. In addition, we also look at our special districts, and there's nothing unusual that we see there yet. Inflation is the biggest threat to our financial performance right now. I mentioned that we actively monitor department expenses through the year, and will continue to do so. We will continue to maximize earned interest to offset some of those inflation pressures. And sales tax revenue, as I mentioned, a very important number for us. We can't predict that yet for the year, because we will not see that until next month. So if there are any questions, but that's pretty much where we are after the first quarter.
Thanks, Earl. Appreciate the report, and your having stepped into the new position and continued our long tradition of responsible fiscal management that has given us recognition by Moody's, by the Comptroller, and we will continue to manage our financial affairs in that responsible way. Thank you. A couple of things that I just want to talk about. Couple of events that I've been to in the last couple days, highlighting the diversity of our community and the important ways that we are bringing new Americans into this country. One was a dinner held by Keeping Our Promise, a group that resettles Afghans primarily and Iraqis into this country, but through the SIV program, the Special Immigration Visa Program for men and women who worked as interpreters or other ways they provided assistance to our military in the conflicts in those nations. Ellen Smith is the executive director of that group and just does extraordinary work, but so do these individuals. They've gotten out of their home country. Nobody wants to leave their home country, but as we know, the Taliban has made them targets. So to get those folks that helped our forces out is so important. That was Thursday night. Saturday, I was at an event held by the Nepali community, recognizing Nepalese leaders, and it was great to speak at both of those events along with Mayor Malik Evans, really showing how new Americans are making a difference in our country, but also in our community. The city in upstate New York that's gotten the most visibility for that is Utica, but really all of us in upstate New York recognize the relatively stagnant at best organic population growth. So having these folks come to our country, people who have traveled in literally across the world as refugees, as in some cases as people who worked for our military and are really out there working today. Vijaya Kadka, who is a great friend and leader in the community from Nepal, it really was wonderful to be there. So kudos to those communities. Monday I had the chance to, as I do each year, teach a course in climate policy at RIT, a team taught by several professors who happen to live in the town of Brighton. Every year I go back and I have more to talk to them about, because Brighton continues to be the leader in sustainability, in climate management. I discussed our climate action plan, which is the completion of that is new since I spoke to them last year. Our first net zero building, the Carmen Clark Lodge, and of course our upcoming town hall geothermal project. But really more than anything else, talking to the next generation of leaders, talking to the next generation of people who are interested in policy and specifically from a climate and sustainability perspective. They will go far, and I always enjoy the opportunity to speak with them. And then finally, as you mentioned, Robin, Sunday we cut the vine at the farmer's market outdoors. It didn't feel like a day we should be outdoors with snow and grapple and wind and everything else. But despite that, the crowds were great, and I can't say enough for our market manager, Sue Gardner-Smith. Thank you for everything that you do. Again, wishing everyone Chag Pesach Sameach, happy Passover, and I'll turn things over to the attorney to the town.
No matters to report this evening, Supervisor.
Matters of the clerk.
Nothing this evening.
Matters of the board.
Nothing.
Then thank you to our wonderful ASL interpreters, Heather and Allie, highlighting our years-long commitment to supporting the deaf community. And I thank you for that, and I thank you for all the important relationships we have with the deaf community. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn, Bill.
Second?
Can I have a second?
Second?
Nan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again in 2 weeks on May 8th, 7 o'clock right here. Have a great evening.